The time to change your life is right now and to be intentional. Time is the most important thing that we have in this life, and how we use our time is so crucial to how we elevate. My name is Everette Taylor, originally from Southside Richmond, now live in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm the CEO of Kickstarter. There was a couple things that Southside Richmond did for me. Number one, it added grit into my life. Everything that I seen in the streets of Southside Richmond, all of the hardships, seeing the struggles that my mom, my family went through, and the people that were around me just gave me a level of grit that is persevered throughout my entire life. And then number two is the spirit of the underdog. A lot of people that may be watching this come from smaller cities, smaller towns, places where you don't have a lot of examples of people doing something positive or doing something, extraordinary. My senior year of high school, I was homeless. I lived out of my car, a car that did not work, so it definitely got cold inside of it. And that was a very humbling experience for me, but I took a lot of positives out of this. And you'll see there's this thing throughout my life that I turned the hard things in my life into positive moments. The level of empathy that I gained during that time was incredible. To see people who have nothing, to see people who are mentally ill. A lot of people that are on the streets that are also homeless are mentally ill, who have had circumstances in their life that just led them to the point that they're at right now. And so to me, even now climbing and ascending in my career, I always go back to that moment, and it's always hard for me to talk about it. I don't like talking about it because it is such a kind of dark period in my life, but at the same time, it is really foundational to who I am today as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as a marketer, and as a human, and as a man. Yeah, so today is my 3-year anniversary as CEO of Kickstarter. I look at the man that I was when I joined 3 years ago versus the man that I am today, and I see, extreme growth, not only in my professional life, in my personal life, who I am as a man, who I am as a human, but I'm also really grateful for all of the impact that I've been able to drive over these past 3 years, and to work with such an incredible team to drive that impact. And that's what keeps that's what keeps me going today. When people ask me, why are you still at Kickstarter? Why do you still want to be at this company? And I tell them it's such a unique company. The level of impact that this company drives is absolutely phenomenal. And the creators that we get to work with and the lives that we get to impact is absolutely incredible. Yeah, so I started my first job at 14. My mom, she actually went into the classified ads. For those who don't know what that is, it's like real life Craigslist, so it can be a little creepy. But anyway, she went through the classified ads and she found this role for a marketing assistant for this company called Eastern National. And she called them up and was like, hey, I want to give my son an interview. I guess she was very convincing because I ended up with an interview there, and I was only 14 years old, but it was a very pivotal moment for me because it's almost like I feel like when Michael Jordan picked up a basketball, or John Legend played the piano for the first time. Marketing was such a natural thing for me. And of course at 14, when I was doing this, I wasn't like, man, you know what I want to do? I want to do marketing. That wasn't the vibe. I was like, I still had aspirations to go to the league, and God was like, I'm not gonna make you 6 foot, So, things didn't work out that way. But at the end of the day, going into that first job was transformational for me because it got me out of the hood. It got me around, honestly, white people really for the first time. And then, the company that I was working in, it did the gift shops and bookstores in the national parks. And so when I would go into these spaces, I was seeing tourists. I was like, oh, Richmond got tourists? And we had people from all over the world. I remember hearing my first British accent in real life, and I spazzed, I was like, oh, this exists, And I started meeting people from all different parts of the world, which was fundamental for me to learn and meet people from other places and spaces and see that and get that experience. And that's why exposure is such an important thing at a young age, but also I learned my craft. I went to school at Virginia Tech. When I was homeless, I actually was Googling schools, like tech schools, and like Virginia Tech came up, and I was like, all right, that sounds good. I didn't know much about it outside of Mike Vick, but I knew I wanted to learn how to code. I know I wanted to become more technical, and so that's what I did. I went. Yeah, my whole family is still in Richmond, Virginia. Most recently I was there to do the commencement speech at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm actually going to be affiliate faculty there this year. They just opened up a scholarship under my name, and the first recipients of the scholarship just actually got them yesterday. So really great to support the students and the entrepreneurial students at VCU with a scholarship under my name. It's kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, so I dropped out of school at 19, and I came back home and I was working minimum wage at Joann's Fabrics, and I wasn't making nothing. I was like, we gotta switch something up. We need to do something different. And this is when I started Easy Events. It was my first company. It was an event marketing company that we turned into a tech company where people could, buy tickets for our events. They could, download photos from the events, et cetera, et cetera. So we built like an event marketing platform. Most of the revenue came from the actual parties because we didn't really understand the technology that we built. Like I didn't know about the Eventbrites and all of that in the world. I didn't know about Silicon Valley. And then a couple years later, we had the opportunity to sell this company. And so we did, and we thought it was a lot of money at the time, and it was not. But the biggest lesson I learned was know your worth. Because shortly thereafter selling that company, I found out that company got sold for a lot more money than what we sold it for. And I was like, man, I need to be out there amongst, all the Silicon Valley people. I need to learn the game. I went out there, I started working for a company called Qualaroo with this guy named Sean Ellis, who he basically started what we know as growth hacking and growth marketing, if you've ever heard of that term, and kind of took me under his wing. And what I learned about was equity. I learned about venture capital. I learned about startups. I learned about how to truly scale a company. That global mindset is what I really learned, and like not having any type of ceilings. I saw these white boys in Silicon Valley just off the strength of an idea have a damn near $1 billion company. It's honestly really hard knowing what people's intentions are. The average person doesn't have a large digital footprint, whereas I do, whereas someone like myself does. And, people can learn all different things about you. A lot of the things that I talked about in this interview are all Googleable, right? And so I think that's just a weird phenomenon of like meeting people and them being able to know so much about you and you not being able to know much about them, but also not really knowing what their intentions are. When I came to Artsy, I knew I wanted to learn. I knew I wanted to be a CMO of a global $1 billion type company. But at the same time, when I came there, I was like, I also know that I want to be a CEO, and I want to be a CEO of an established brand, a global brand, a household name brand. So when I got to Artsy, the first thing I wanted to do was kill it, right? So I went in there, started growing numbers, doing my thing. But shortly into that, after I proved myself, for a bit, I went into, my one-on-one with my CEO, Mike Stipe, and I said something that, most people probably wouldn't say to their boss. And I said, I want your job. And instead of him being like, what? He embraced me. And that was a really important moment in my career, because I was able to let him know that, hey, when I say I want your job, I don't mean I want your job right now. I'm saying that I want you to teach me how to be a CEO of a $1 billion company. So we're going to Casina Consuelo. I'm really excited to go here. This restaurant launched on Kickstarter. They beat their goal by like 20%. They raised a lot of money to go from being a pop-up to a storefront. and I'm really excited. It's my first time getting to see this storefront, and I'm really passionate about supporting creators like Karina, making their dreams come true through Kickstarter, especially creators on our platform of color. And I love Mexican food. I became CEO of Kickstarter by paying it forward and being kind. That's why I'm in the seat. A couple years prior to me even interviewing to be the CEO of Kickstarter, I met an incredible woman who I met at a Derek Forjor art exhibition. And at that time, she meets me, she knew who I was, and she asked if she could pick my brain and like get some like, not mentorship, but just like support, you know, in her career and the things that she was thinking about. And, you know, a few months later, we sit down, you know, we have tea, coffee, and, you know, we're talking, I'm supporting her. She's like getting into curating and all this other stuff. At the end, and this is me just like wanting to support this person. At the end, she actually tells me that she writes for the Financial Times. I had no idea that she wrote for the Financial Times. I didn't take that meeting because, you know, I was trying to get something out of it. And she says, hey, I would love to write about you sometime. I was like, oh, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so we do the article, and it comes out. Now, if this article came out anytime sooner, I would not be sitting here in front of you as the CEO of Kickstarter. One of the board members, actually the only Black board member on the board of Kickstarter, saw that Financial Times article, reached out to the writer, and reached out to me about the CEO opportunity because they had just departed with their CEO.
You know, when I came into Kickstarter, revenue was down tremendously. I think a lot of the brand recognition had stalled in a bit. And so for me, it was like to be really intentional. And number one, that was listening to our community and the people that love Kickstarter most.
Kickstarter is the largest global crowdfunding company in the world for creative projects. Billions and billions of dollars have been raised on the platform. Billions of dollars of products have been sold on the platform. This is a place where people who have a creative idea and want to get it out there in the world can do so. So it's a place where creativity really comes to fruition, and it's had a massive global impact on the world and has changed a lot of lives. You know, a lot of people ask me what is it like to be me, or what is it like to be CEO of Kickstarter, and the balance of all these things. And it's really hard to put into words because one of the things that I try to tell people, but it's really hard to for people to truly understand, is that part of your life isn't your life. And it affects my personal relationships and things like that because, you know, I have such a huge responsibility on my shoulders for the millions of people that use Kickstarter. You know, we have all these people that depend on us, creators that depend on us, people that depend on getting these products and these things into their lives that really, you know, impact their lives. And so much of my life is my dedication and my sacrifices for them. So one of the biggest moments during my time here at Kickstarter was Kickstarter being named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential companies in the world, which was incredible. You know, I was a CEO in his early 30s at the helm of a company that had that distinction. It was also very special because when I came into Kickstarter, Kickstarter was actually on the decline, you know, and so for me to be able to rejuvenate the brand, get the brand to being relevant again, growing and having the impact that it was to be recognized in that way was a beautiful moment. The influence and the impact that this company has had, and so we got to keep going. So I was not, you know, satisfied with just, you know, being one of the 100. I want to be number one. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So nice to meet you.
Likewise, I'm Karina.
Everett, very nice to meet
Welcome.
you. Congratulations on the storefront. This looks absolutely beautiful. What inspired you to use Kickstarter?
So the Kickstarter, I've heard of it a while ago, back in 2011, I would say. That was the first time. And it just, because we needed the capital, and it's the platform that people like myself and within the community are more familiar with, it just made sense for us to use the platform, and also because we were raising money, it would just legitimize the actual crowdfunding, because it's a platform that everyone, like I said, in the community, it's aware of and it's well known. Yeah.
Leadership is hard. Leadership is not about being liked. Leadership is not about always giving people what they want. Leadership is about impact. Leadership is about growth. Leadership is about doing what's best for the company, doing what's best for your users, your community, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're not always gonna make the most popular decisions. You're not gonna always be liked about things, and you have to stay rock solid. It's really, really, really important to always keep in mind why, the why. Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? And keeping impact number one. So funny. Honestly, if I code switch, I might be the CEO of Google right now. So code switching, I refuse to do it. Who you're seeing on camera right now is me. You know what I mean? Like, people meet me and they be like, oh shit, you're real. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, you know, it surprises people because I think they see, you know, CEO of a global brand and they expect me to come and shake their hand like, hi, how are you? You know, and that's not who I am, you know what I mean? I always want to be myself, and you know, that's worked for me thus far. I think that's one of the most special things about Kickstarter is the ability to, you already have that community, but continue to build that community on the platform. So that's really dope to see.
Yeah, and also too, I feel once you do a Kickstarter campaign and people see that the community is supporting, they actually see that whatever it is that you're doing is coming to fruition. Because a lot of people talk and they say, oh, I'm doing this and I'm working towards this, but then you don't necessarily see the actual project come through. And then when you do the Kickstarter, I feel like you're giving yourself an actual like boost, and people could actually see, hey, this is serious. You're actually taking steps towards doing whatever it is that you're doing. That was one of the comments that I got from people saying, oh, you actually did it. You know? So
the time is now. Time is the most important thing that we have in this life, and how we use our time is so crucial to how we elevate. I'm obsessed with my time and making the most impact with my time, and I don't want to waste it because I don't know when my last day is or how much time that I have. And so to the young people, especially out here with, you know, seeing your friends, family, people who are like doing the wrong things or wasting their time or, you know, messing up, like, yo, avoid that. Really be focused on what you want and put the time in and put the effort in, and don't focus on all of this social media BS. Like, focus on like what really truly matters in your life to get to where you need to go. You know, I run a global platform, and you know, I'm passionate about helping everybody, but there's a special place in my heart for Black and brown entrepreneurs and creators, because I personally know the different hardships and the challenges that we face, the perceptions, the stereotypes, the lack of opportunity. I talked about this earlier about people wanting our juice, wanting our creativity, and not necessarily giving us the ability to elevate. And so I want to empower as many of those people as possible. I mean, this is why I'm here right now, for people like Angie and other people out there in the world that are like, you know, trying to make an impact, trying to do new things. And that's what I'm here for. And I feel like that's my mission.